Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we have got rain and wind warnings issued over the next couple of days, as we are going to see lots of pretty unsettled weather, especially for England and Wales. The jet stream is slowly sinking southwards, which is going to allow cold weather to arrive by the end of the week, but initially the next few days it just means all those weather systems are going to be hitting further southwards than they have over the past couple of weeks. And that does mean if you are in England and Wales, you're going to see a lot of rain over the next couple of days. And you can already see this afternoon into the evening, we've already got a big wall of rain moving in, which again is going to cause disruption, especially falling onto very saturated ground. We'll then have a look at the latest UKV, which will be able to show the transition from the wet, mild and windy weather that we have at the moment towards a colder, drier pattern by the end of the week into the weekend. Of course, that cold, drier pattern is what many people watching this will be very interested in, to see how cold is it going to get, and are we going to see any winteriness? Is there any risk of snow? Now, imminently, no. The answer to that is simply no. It is not looking likely in the next week to maybe as long as 10 days we're going to see anything remotely disruptive in terms of snow or anything significant at all. There is the risk of showers, as ever when you've got cold air moving in. There is the risk of showers around, but we're not looking at anything too crazy at this stage. Maybe the far southeast or east coast could see some showers into the weekend as we spill in an easterly flow, but it is looking likely now the high pressure will sit relatively close by, which will cut off most of the shower risks and the snow risks. The interest is still there in the longer range, of course. This high pressure doesn't look like it's going anywhere, so there is the risk, especially as we head towards around the 10th to the 20th of January. That's when we could see that high pressure transition towards the northwest or north, and that could allow a colder, more unstable flow to move in. The time being, though, it is going to be turning cold. That is pretty much a guarantee now. It's going to be turning frosty for most. Risk of a few wintry showers, but nothing too crazy at this stage. The risk is there into the longer term. We'll explore that in the longer range runs in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, after you start on the live radar, you can see the big wall of rain that is moving in at the moment. It is going to pretty much hit most areas across the British Isles over the next 12 hours or so, but it is going to be mainly focused across parts of England and Wales for the heaviest rain. And you can see these sort of outer bands, the eastern edge of this is now slowly moving in for much of England, and even getting into eastern England now, and it is going to pep up over the coming hours as the heaviest stuff starts to move in. Could see widely 10 to 30 millimetres of rain fall with this system. It is looking like to be a pretty horrible evening and overnight. Tomorrow morning we could just about see some respite before another system moves in and gives another period of heavy rain. So unfortunately, if you have got any plans for the first couple of days of January, especially if you're in England and Wales, it does look like there's going to be a lot of rain around. It could even be disruptive as well. Now, the temperatures with this aren't too cold. They've been a little bit chilly over the last 24 hours. We have seen a brief cooler sector move in, and you can see it's still colder across Scotland, but for most areas, milder areas moving in with this weather system. So it is going to be turning it above average once again. Over the next few days, it is going to remain around average, maybe slightly above, but as I said, around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time, pretty much for all, it's going to be trending below average, and especially for the southeast, we could be seeing really quite cold conditions, as we do see a very strong easterly or northeasterly wind move in by the weekend. And of course, that does bring the risk, as I said at the start of the video, of a few wintry showers, but I think the main thing will be is cold temperatures and a very cold wind chill with that. But if we do focus on the next couple of days for the time being, if we look at the latest weather warnings as we head through the rest of today, you can see that overnight tonight we've got some very heavy rain falling from 5 p.m. today until 9 p.m. tomorrow. So it's for the rain this evening and then for more rain into tomorrow. Heavy rain falling on the saturated ground is likely to cause some travel disruption. As I said, we're looking at 15 to 30 millimetres widely, maybe as high as 35 to 50 millimetres. Again, if you're interested in seeing all the details, do go onto the Met Office website and check this out. Again, it's a medium likelihood and a relatively low impact. This is not looking like it's ridiculous rainfall intensity. These aren't out of the ordinary low pressure systems. These are just, your standard Atlantic lows. But the problem is we've seen a lot of rain recently. Falling onto saturated ground over a large catchment area could cause significant flooding in places, and you can see where the Met Office expect the main track of the heaviest stuff from southwest England through Wales, through the Midlands, out across East Anglia, through the East Midlands, even getting up into the north east. Even to the north of this morning and to the south and the east of this morning, still expect heavy rain, just not quite as heavy as in the warning zone. Not only will there be heavy rain, but we're going to see some very strong winds, and this is covering much of England and Wales through tomorrow. For the weather system moving tomorrow, is going to bring some even stronger winds with it. So from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m, a spell of very windy weather accompanied by heavy rain in places is likely to cause travel disruption. I have seen people say that this could even be named potentially, but I do think it's a little bit late now to be naming it, as the system is arriving in around 12 to 18 hours time. But you never know, we'll have to see over the next few hours. You can see gusts towards 60 miles per hour in coastal areas with a low likelihood of 70 miles per hour inland, more like 40 to 50 miles per hour, maybe 55 to 60 miles per hour. There is low confidence though with it, and we'll see in the UKV what it is predicting over the course of the next few hours. Again, medium likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix. So if you have a look at the latest UKV, you can see that rain moving in through the southwest through this evening, really pepping up as it does arrive, giving heavy rainfall through tonight. As we head into the early hours of the morning, it should slowly clear, but will leave some thicker cloud and some drizzly weather, and even could see a bit of snow across the central belt of Scotland. But, as I said, most of that rain is falling across England and Wales, only small amounts across Scotland into northern England. As we head into Tuesday morning, you see a brief respite, but the rain is already moving back in for the southwest, and we're going to see renewed heavy rain for all across England and Wales, and this rainfall is going to continue through much of the day, giving it a very unsettled spell of weather. As we progress through Tuesday evening, that rain will eventually, very slowly clear. And then as we head into Wednesday, you're going to see lots of showers coming in from the west. Initially in the morning, quite heavy showers, but by the afternoon they could become slightly lighter and more of a sunshine and showers day. Into Thursday, we could see another low pressure system develop into the southwest through to the southeast, and that could give a spell of heavy rain. But as ever with these southerly tracking lows, especially these very small features, they can move around quite substantially in the short term. And you can even see there, it's showing even a bit of back edge snow over the Chilterns there come the early hours of Friday. Again, it's a possibility, but as we'll see with some of the overall sort of temperatures, it's very, very marginal indeed. By this stage, colder air is filtering in, but traditionally it's not cold enough air to produce any snow, more like cold rain. But the UKV obviously sees some evaporative cooling taking place and some snow over the highest ground across southern England. But eventually that will clear, and then it will slowly open the floodgates to colder air in from the north and the northeast. As I said, it's going to be a gradual trend colder. You can see most of these showers initially are rain, but it could turn more towards snow for inland areas. And you can see by Saturday, if you look at the upper air temperatures, you can already see it's well below average, and it is trending quite a bit colder. By Saturday into Sunday, we would expect some properly cold air to be arriving. By this stage, we are seeing frosts, we are seeing temperatures average to below average in the day, but not quite cold enough for snow at this stage. Pretty typically, as soon as that coldest air arrives, the shower activity does diminish quite substantially, but there is the risk of a bit of a crossover through Sunday, maybe Monday, especially in that southeast corner. So we'll have to keep an eye on that over the next couple of days, but it's still outside of the UKV's time frame. So again, I wouldn't look at it in too much detail, as it is still subject to quite a lot of change. Wind gusts over the coming hours, again very strong wind gusts potentially as we head overnight tonight into tomorrow, and then a real big pickup of gusts through tomorrow on the back edge of that low. Could see 50 to 70 miles per hour across parts of southern England there. Again, it looks fairly intense, but we will have to see. And across parts of eastern Scotland, across the northern Isles of Scotland, could see again 60, 70 miles per hour before it does slowly clear. And the winds do stay gusty throughout the rest of the week, but we're not looking at any real main areas of interest at this stage. If you have a look at the max temperatures, you'll be able to see there is a big come down over the next few days. 7 or 8 degrees today, slightly chillier than it has been recently, but really only pretty much sort of an average winter day. As we progress into tomorrow, it's going to be relatively mild. Again, it might not feel too mild with lots of rain and cloud around, but 12 or 13 degrees across southern areas. In towards Wednesday, well above average. Look at that overnight, 7 or 8 degrees. That's a good 5 or 6 degrees above what we'd expect this time of year. And you'd see into Wednesday afternoon, relatively mild, still 7 to 9 degrees. Again, nowhere near as mild as it's been, but still above average. But the downwards trend is now coming into Thursday. By Thursday afternoon, temperatures a little bit cooler, more around that 5 to 8 degree mark, so trending back towards average. Overnight Thursday into Friday, frosts appearing quite widely for northern areas, maybe locally further southwards as well, especially as that system across the southeast does clear. And then into Friday afternoon, temperatures struggling to get much above 4 to 7 degrees, so starting to trend average to now getting below average in some areas. And you'll be able to see by Saturday, it is looking likely to be colder than that. Temperatures probably not getting much above 4 to 6 degrees. So it is not a sort of immediate drop to cold conditions, but it's a slow trend as that cold air builds in, because we are just seeing a big blast of cold air. It's getting slowly filtered in from the northeast. So it's going to take a few days to cool down, but it is going to go from 12, 13 degrees perhaps tomorrow and on Wednesday down towards only 5, 6 degrees at best come the weekend. But of course, if we do have a look at the long range now, which many of you will be most interested in, you can see it's westerly flow at the moment, and that will continue over the next couple of days. But the high pressure is moving in, and it starts to ridge northwards, push the jet stream southwards, and this is where we start to see that northeasterly wind filter in. Now, initially, you can see it's a fairly strong easterly wind, and you probably think we're going to go pretty cold and maybe even pretty wintry. But that high pressure builds more over the top of us instead of being further northwards and westwards, like some of the runs a few days ago were showing. It doesn't make too much of a difference to the surface conditions in terms of temperatures. Yes, the upper air temperatures might not be as persistently cold, but at the surface, because it's higher pressure, midwinter, even if we don't have very cold air at the upper air level, we'd likely see an inversion anyway. So it is going to be cold at the surface. The difference is it will mean there's going to be less showers. You can see across the southeast corner, though, we're closer to low pressure, that's down towards the Med, and you can see an easterly or northeasterly wind, so we could see some showers in off the North Sea. But you can see by sort of Monday time that high pressure does topple, which will keep cold air around, but it will cut off any of those shower risks. So you can see by next Monday, we're firmly under a cold high pressure system. It's going to be chilly, cold, overnight temperatures well below freezing, and you can see into the longer range, the high pressure kind of just hangs around. But it's as we get towards sort of 7 to 10 days time is where interest builds for potentially even colder conditions and maybe even wintry conditions. As you see, the high pressure starts to wane a little bit, and then we see another high pressure system trying to amplify the jet stream, trying to push even further northwards. But the GFS today is not having too much of it. You can see right towards the extended range, we do start to see high pressure ridge towards Greenland and an attempt at a northeasterly or easterly wind. But at this stage, they are just attempts. So pretty much all models are getting towards this high pressure system being sat over the top of us, trying to wedge northwards. But none of the models really have any consistency or any real idea exactly what will happen beyond that. It looking likely to remain cold, potentially wintry, but there is a lot to be decided from around sort of 10 days and beyond that, or even 7 days and beyond that. What is going to happen to this high pressure system? Is it just going to disappear? There is the small risk of that. Majority of runs are not showing that because they're still keeping it pretty cold. The high pressure were to disappear and a westerly flow would come in. It wouldn't be cold at all. It would be very mild. So I do think most runs are showing the high pressure staying around, and there are some, as we'll see from the ensembles, that push it northwards. Any runs getting very cold down towards the minus 10 level are pushing it northwards, and if that does happen, then we'd see things even colder, and then the risk of potentially some significant snow does come in. Now, of course, each run is very different. The overall pattern is similar, but sort of little details at the surface do change quite substantially, and that is something that we're going to have to use the UKV for the next over the next few days to forecast the exact temperatures. As we can say, it's going to be cold, it's going to be frosty, but we can't say exactly what it's going to be with these global models, as even though they are relatively accurate at the short range, they can still be a couple of degrees out, which makes a big difference. The difference between -2 and +1 is a big difference when we're looking at frosts and things like that. So that's why we're not going to be having a look at the temperatures at the surface or anything like that from these runs at this stage, or even the precipitation. You can see though from the GM, westerly winds do move in, high pressure builds to our northeast, that easterly flow arrives the weekend, and then the high pressure tries to build northwards, and again gets that resurgence of amplification from the Atlantic there, and again it is trying to get towards Greenland and Svalbard. You can see it's having a real good attempt. And if we could run this on for another couple of frames, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see the floodgates open to this big pool of cold air to our east. But at this stage, we're under higher pressure. Even though the upper air temperatures are relatively mild, we still likely see an inversion. And like I said, I wouldn't look at the 2 meter temperatures, but even here you can see it is still very cold because, as I said, we're still seeing that inversion take place. But it will be, incredibly interesting to see what happens beyond this, whether that high pressure can penetrate into the Arctic. You can see there are blocking patterns, there is lots of amplification in the jet stream. We are not seeing a westerly pattern here at all, but it's not clear-cut cold either. We're kind of in between, on the cusp of a colder, or properly colder pattern, because we are in a colder pattern here, just nothing crazy. But at this stage, we cannot say for certain. There's still huge discrepancy between the models, each different type of model, and each of the models different runs during the day. Now, if you look at the ECMWF, this has been more of the bullish run in terms of pulling a properly easterly in over the last couple of days. It has trended towards the GFS, which has been quite a bit more, I'd say, boring in terms of cold weather. It definitely has really not liked the amplification at all. The ECMWF has trended slightly towards that, but it's still definitely the colder and potentially more wintry run over the last couple of days. You can see it pushes the high pressure northwards. It does put in a relatively strong easterly wind for a time all the way through Monday, even into Tuesday, perhaps to the far southeast, before eventually, cutting it off. And then at day 10, again, it's having an attempt to build towards Greenland. You can see that if we put on the 300 HPA winds, you can see this big push northwards by the 300 HPA winds, which is generally showing you the flow between different pressure levels in the atmosphere, and you would expect the high pressure to have a good go at getting up here. But it's impossible to say unless we could run this on another few days. If we are looking at a westerly flow, you'd see these darker reds being completely flat, but look at all the amplification, which shows you that we're in for a big change over the coming days in terms of the overall North Atlantic pattern. And again, we'll just have to see what it does hold for the UK. If we run it back to right now, you can see what I mean by a flat westerly. Look at the wind just coming straight in from the west. No amplification at all. Go to day 10 and you see all the waves within the jet stream, essentially. Again, different levels within the atmosphere, but it is sort of the jet stream we're looking at here. And you can see, going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks if we keep this sort of wavy pattern, because this is what is building the uncertainty. Where do the little kinks in the jet stream develop? Where does the amplification get to? As that essentially will decide how cold and how wintry it will get. So we finish by looking at the latest ensembles. If we start on the latest GFS, you can see the huge spread over the next couple of weeks. You see all models, all ensemble members by the weekend turn us cold. A good few days here of consistency of cold weather by the weekend, getting towards that -5 area. But you can see, coincidentally, as it gets cold, precipitation drops substantially. And then in around 7-8 days' time, the uncertainty really differs. We see some runs go milder again with the upper air temperatures. It doesn't actually mean it will be mild at the surface, because quite a few of these will just have the high pressure toppled on top of us with an inversion, generally colder conditions taking place. We'll be able to see that with the 2 meter temperatures in a minute. But then you can see maybe a third to maybe as much as a half keep us cold, and some go very cold. And those ones down to the -10 level will be the ones building a substantial block further northwards and pulling in bitterly cold air from Scandinavia from Eastern Europe, or perhaps even straight from the Arctic. But you can see there is a lot of spread, so anyone saying exactly how it's going to progress, yeah, it is not looking at the models. It is very uncertain exactly how cold it's going to get and whether we'll see any major winteriness with it. If you do look at the 2 meter temperatures though, you can see there is consistency that it is going to be cold. These are the temperatures over the next couple of days, 12, 13 degrees. Look at that downwards trend by the end of the week. Getting stuck around the 4 or 5 degree mark by the weekend and pretty much holding there, even there with the milder runs and colder runs, pretty much comes out as even. Yes, we saw the upper air temperatures were slowly rising in the longer term, but as I said, some of the runs driving that rise at the upper air temperature level just have the high pressure over the top of us, with an inversion making very little difference to the 2 meter temperatures. So that sometimes when we're looking at these sort of charts, it's always good to distinguish between what is a mild upper air chart, but actually a cold surface chart, and what is an actual mild upper air chart and a mild surface chart as well. There are very few mild surface level charts and surface level ensemble members coming out at the moment. Majority, I'd say 70, 80 or even 90% are keeping cold, if not very cold conditions at the surface for the foreseeable future, but just quite a few of them are keeping it very dry in the short to medium term. Now, if you look at the ECMWF, it's been very much more consistent with a colder pattern, but hasn't been too bullish in terms of it's not gone over the top with anything. It's been conservative, but it has been consistent, whereas the GFS has some days showing extremely cold pattern and the next day showing it milder again. So GFS has been a bit all over the place. Did lead the ECMWF initially a good few days ago, but now that I'd say the ECMWF is being the more consistent run between the different runs between the days. You can see over the next couple of days it's mild, but then we see that downwards trend towards much colder conditions, down towards the -5 level for a good 3-4 days here. Slow rise. And then you can see the split between ones that stay cold, if not very cold, others that have milder upper air temperatures. But again, it's the same as the GFS, where the 2 meter temperatures, if we look at that, is cold really no matter what, as we are seeing an inversion take place in even some of those milder runs. So we are just going to have to keep a very close eye on the models. Unfortunately today there's not been any major revelations, it's just a continuation of this developing colder pattern. We will just have to see how it does develop over the next couple of weeks, but I'll be very interested to have a look on the 31st of January in 30 days time about what has happened through January, as there is a lot of interest over the next few weeks. Yes, the next week or so it's looking cold, but not massively wintry at all. But don't be too disappointed if you are looking forward to some cold and snowier weather, because there is continued risk throughout the next few weeks. This blocking pattern, this amplification of the jet stream, the pattern I showed you on the operational runs with the big wavy jet stream, that isn't going anywhere in the short to medium term or even longer term. The next few weeks doesn't look like it's going anywhere, but it does continue the risk of continual cold weather, and then the risk, as I said, of snow. But it is going to be something that we just have to keep a very close eye on. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. If you do enjoy milder weather, unfortunately, it is bad news. Next few weeks are looking pretty chilly, if not cold. And if you are looking forward to some colder weather, good news, it is coming. But at this stage, we're not looking at anything particularly wintry in the short to medium term. But over the next couple of days, do stay safe out there on all the rain and the wind around. It's the one positive thing about this colder pattern, at least initially, is it is going to be turning drier, so it will mean the ground gets a little bit of time to dry out. But of course, we don't get a lot of drying this time of year, regardless of the weather we get. But we will just have to see exactly how it does evolve over the next few weeks. But do stay tuned, as we'll continue to have updates over the coming days, and hopefully we get a little bit more of a clear-cut signal for that longer-term pattern. Because at the moment, the models don't look like they have much of a clue what is going to be happening beyond the next 7 days. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.